Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. Check this out. We are going back. How far back you say? We're going back to 1986. On March 20th of that year, Anita Baker released her sophomore album called Rapture. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to break down the tracks just to give our overall thoughts on the album. And as you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. I have a friend with me, good friend of the show, is back in the building. My girl, Trish. Trish, what's up?
Hey, how y'all doing? Glad to be back.
Yes, glad to have you back on, Trish. Yeah, this is gonna be fun. It's mind boggling because when we started talking about doing this, because I normally do album reviews when they hit a milestone or whatever like that. This was, and then I thought about it, I was like, especially with June being Black Music Month,
Yeah.
I wanted to feature and just talk about some albums that didn't necessarily have an anniversary date, if you will,
Right.
but very important albums to the times and the culture at that particular time, and just feel good music was what we used to call it. And came up with Anita Baker's Rapture album that still sits very well with me, and I know you as well.
Mhm.
So I guess I should start there. Do you remember? Now this was '86, Trish. Now, you was outside in '86. Um,
You know what?
so
Never.
my question to you: do you remember um, just your first overall thoughts and memories of listening to this? Did you have it on tape? Was it on record, on vinyl? Um, what are your overall initial memories of this album?
Listen, I could go back before that
Mm-hmm.
because in '83 she did her single Angel.
Mm-hmm.
And Angel was everybody. Well, I don't know anybody that didn't love Angel. However, her voice was very unique, and there were some people who actually didn't like her voice. My
Yeah.
mom was one of them. She was like,
Really?
"I don't like her voice." I was like, "What?"
Wow. Come on, moms.
Me and my sister were big fans of Anita. So would I say we were diehard fan? I guess my sister was probably more of a diehard fan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I loved her music. I loved her music. So I do remember Rapture. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's Anita Baker.
Right.
Who doesn't remember those songs? And back then, Anita was it. Anita was everywhere. She was on all platforms. She was on all, well, it was radio back then, but
Right.
you heard her music all the time. So yeah, her Rapture album did very well.
Yeah. I remember it's funny you mentioned that because like up until I started doing my research on this album, and I don't know why, but I thought this was her debut album. And then I saw the thing said Songstress. So I was like, okay, so what the hell was on Songstress? I was like, I don't remember this album. And the number one single from that album was Angel, which is an Anita Baker staple, right?
Yep.
And so Songstress came out in '83.
Yep.
Rapture comes out in '86,
Mm-hmm.
and we had it on vinyl. And the thing that I remember about this album is that unlike you, my mom played this album to death. Um, I grew up in a music. I always tell people like I grew up in a music household
Mm-hmm.
where there was always music being played in my house.
Yep.
Always.
Yep.
Sunday mornings you get church music, you get gospel. Sunday afternoons you could probably we probably go back to like the Commodores or
Start the window off, huh?
Parliament or somebody like that. But yeah, because of the era in which we came up, we didn't have like nowadays in my house, everybody walking around with headphones or earbuds and whatever
Yeah.
in your ears, and it's not flowing through the house. But that was one of my memories, one of my big memories of being a child, was that my parents always, and I'm talking about Trish, I'm talking about like every day. Music was constantly, I mean, like and you probably laugh when I say this, we were the kind of household like they would turn on the music before they turned on the TV.
Right, right,
So,
right.
um,
You didn't
yeah,
need the TV once you put the music on.
right. So,
I do
that
that to this day.
I'm
Coming
I'm, I'm different now because I listen to stuff in my ears. So, but I don't watch as much TV as I used to.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing that I remember most about this album is that my mom played it, and it's funny that you mentioned about her voice because I do remember there was some, I don't want to say haters, but I remember like there was some pushback from some people because Anita Baker's voice and her sound is very distinct,
Yes.
and I guess you would call her an alto. Her voice is an alto, probably a second alto, maybe.
She's probably she can do a range.
Right.
So she can go up to soprano, high soprano, and
Mhm.
go all the way down to second soprano. So
So she had a very distinct sound, and so she didn't sound like the
the,
singers that were out at the time,
that's right.
and so that was interesting too. And then she was coming from Detroit or whatever, and she wasn't in the quote unquote Motown sound either, coming from Detroit. So
Mhm.
she was very, very, very different, I think, in that aspect. But yeah, that was one of the things that I found, Trish, that kind of made me chuckle. I was like, damn, I thought this was her first album. I was like,
Yeah, right.
uh, and
Nah,
then,
that when you realize that Angel came out in '83,
mm-hmm,
and then Rapture came out, so in '86. So yeah,
mm-hmm.
some years between that. And even before
Okay, so
that, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, I gotta stump you I gotta ask you a question
Oh,
real quick.
okay.
Um, Sidebar,
Okay.
Angel,
Mm-hmm.
who has the better version, Anita Baker or Layla Hathaway?
Oh, come on, man. Listen, I love me some Layla. I'm a singer, so you can't ask me stuff like that. But they're both great singers
Mm-hmm,
for their era. I'll say that.
mm-hmm,
So you got some diehard Anita Baker lovers. Layla can sing her face off.
mm-hmm.
So I'll say, would I say that Anita can sing her face off? Anita can sing. When I say as a singer, sing their face off, I mean they can blow. And Layla can blow. I mean, she's like the ninth wonder of the world. I mean,
You
her,
stalling, Trish. You stalling.
you know what? All right, well, listen, it's like oranges and apples. You know what I mean? And Layla's version is very nice.
So you taking Anita?
No, I'm saying I'm
Which
only
one? Which one you taking? Gun in your head. You got to pick one.
I'm taking Anita because it's classic
Okay. Okay.
and that has memories for me. Layla's version is very, very nice.
I'm taking
Layla,
Layla.
Layla could sing the alphabet.
I'm
Amen.
taking Layla.
Okay.
Yeah. I just, and that's saying a lot.
She finessed it. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like it's just a whole different. It's the same song, but not. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's Layla.
She made it her version. She definitely made it her version. I love Layla Hathaway.
It always makes it her own, whatever she sings.
And like you said, both of them can sing their face off. But I just when you said Angel, I had to sidebar real quick. Um, Rapture, this album again drops March 20th, 1986. Total runtime of 37 minutes, 9 seconds. So relatively quick album. Um, the singles that were released: Sweet Love, Caught Up in the Rapture, Same Old Love, and No One in the World. And we'll talk about the singles in just a few. And track listing in just a few. Um, when you went back and listened to this album, because when we started talking about this album,
Sorry, listen.
I had to go back and listen, and I came upon a discovery. I went to the good old Spotify, and this album is not on Spotify.
What?
No, it is not on Spotify. So do you have a physical copy of this album, or how did you
I,
listen to
I do not. Um, but listen, I don't even need the album. It's like in my
it?
brain, in my psyche,
Hmm.
songs and stuff like that. I remember I have a memory of Rapture album.
Okay.
Unless you want me to wait until you go sing
No,
a
no,
little.
no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I
Go
have
ahead.
a memory of the Rapture album. I have a memory, great memories of Anita anyway, because like I
Mhm.
said, my sister and I, who are 6 years apart, 6 years, 2 weeks apart, both love Anita. I honestly think I started loving Anita because my sister loved Anita.
Okay.
I was the younger, and you kind of just gravitate. But anyway,
Following Big Sis.
yeah. So Rapture album though, I remember I was going with this dude
Uh-oh.
from Brooklyn. Straight Brooklyn dude, right? 6'7", big guy. And we went together for like 6 years. And so I he ended up going to college. I went to college at Shaw University, and he went to
HBCU. Shout out.
HBCU. Shout out. It's the only way to go. Um,
Hmm.
he went to Elizabeth City, right? And
HBCU. Shout out.
HBCU, I would go and visit him or whatever. And I remember I was, I'm one of those girlfriends that's always thinking of you, always
Mhm.
thinking of what I can do for you. So I locally we had a spot that we called the flea market, and it was basically this big kind of warehouse place, and you walked around the aisles, and there were literally people, just small businesses selling their stuff. So in there was one of those, and I'm sure I guess they were around the country. I'm only from New York, but they had those booths where you could go in and record your own
Hmm.
version of these songs, popular songs, and they would have these average background singers,
Hmm.
horrible. But at the time, so I went in and I recorded "You Bring Me Joy"
Uh-oh.
by Anita Baker, because I've been singing all my life, but I recorded it for him and sent it to him. And I remember he called me one time. He was playing the thing on campus, like at level 10 volume. Doing? He was like, "Oh, I love it." He was like, "Listen, people keep walking up to me, asking me who this is." And then I was like, "Listen," I said, "I'm flattered, but yeah, it was for you." Of one of the songs from Rapture, but yeah.
Hmm. That's
Yeah.
what's up. That's what's up. And it's funny because, and I'm pretty sure you know this, but maybe some of our listeners don't know this, but that is how Mary J. Blige got discovered.
So
Singing in one of those booths like that.
story before. Yep, she recorded like that, and she got discovered. Yeah, and
Hmm.
I didn't know that back then, that you could get discovered that way. But
Yeah, Trish, you could have been.
listen, I've done some nice stuff. I'm not where Mary J is right now.
Right, right, right. Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think, like I said, this album takes me back. I remember, and it's funny, Trish, because as I was listening, I found myself watching the videos.
Oh yeah,
Um, I watched the video for "No One in the World," which ironically was directed by Spike Lee, and he was in the video.
was it?
Yes, yes. Go back and watch. It's on YouTube. Go back and watch the
Look,
video. Because that's how I had to listen to it. Because again, I don't have it. I don't
um,
have it. I don't have CDs anymore. And with it not being on Spotify, I was like, oh snap. So I want to say there's 3 songs on Spotify, and the rest of the songs I had to listen to on YouTube. But I mean, I remember the songs, but I just, you
yeah,
know, anytime I'm reviewing an album, I make sure that I go back and listen to it because I want to get that feeling again, that vibe.
yeah,
And it just, listening to it took me right back to, my mom's living room, sitting there right there by the stereo,
yeah. Good memory.
listening to it. Yep.
I'm sure I had the CD back in the day, but
Oh yeah, yeah.
and there was a classic live concert that she did that was
Mhm.
really, really good. I forget where that was.
I want to say
It was Detroit or
it was either Detroit or DC. I can't remember.
yeah, but that was a
Mhm.
nice concert. That was a nice concert. That's when she was in her prime.
Yes,
In my
yes,
opinion.
indeed.
I
Yes,
saw her
indeed.
recently,
Really,
because she's back out.
I heard. Oh, we've heard.
Not all good things, but it's funny because she had a lot of controversy. I guess because I was younger and just kind of loved the music.
Mm-hmm.
She had a lot of controversy around her about her attitude as an artist and um, timeliness and things like that, which happened at at the concert that I recently went to.
Really? Okay, so we can we can sidebar this. So how was the show that you went to? Give us the details.
The show was good once she got up and she was on,
Okay.
and
So how late was she? Lauren Hill late or
I don't know Lauren Hill. How late was she? How late is she known to be?
Lauren Hill be like 2 hours late?
Okay, Anita was 3 hours late.
Wow.
So yeah, and I mean, it was so many people there. So it was in Jersey, which is
Oh, so you went to the show at Continental?
I went to the show at Prudential Theater.
Prudential. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Prudential
So that's the show. That's the
That
show the
show-
controversy had.
That's the show that had a controversy, and Babyface got on his Instagram and said, "I'm
Mhm.
sorry," because there were some people. I mean, I'm sure half the crowd, maybe more than half the crowd. I like Babyface. I'm not a big fan of his, but I like his music. And we were waiting for him to be the opener.
Mhm.
They're on tour together.
Yep.
Babyface is the opener, then Anita. So his set was up. You could clearly see the set. We had floor seats. Our my nieces and nephew brought my sister and I have birthdays in April, 2 weeks apart.
Okay.
So they brought both of us tickets to go.
Okay.
Floor seats, which when I go to concerts, I don't do floor seats, even though people say they're the best seats. People stand up in front of you.
Right.
I like to see people on the side, right near the stage.
Same.
So anyway, they don't know any better. They just felt like they wanted to give us good seats, expensive ass seats.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I don't necessarily care for Prudential Theater itself. But anyway, so we're waiting. We had to wait before they let us in because they did the sound check. We could hear them doing sound check, like just before the show. Anybody who's been an artist or been professional, semi-professional, whatever, like I have been, you don't do a sound check just before the show. Your sound check is done at like 11 o'clock, 12 noon.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the showtime comes, you're on time, you're, whatever. All these people waiting and we're eating, we're drinking at the bar, we're whatever, just wasting time. Still hadn't opened the curtains. We're hearing them do sound check. People are starting, you know us folks. People started to get antsy and they was like, what is going on? Da, 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 da. Heard all this little talk. And I was like, you know what? I don't like crowds. So I said, you know what? We were up pretty far. I said, you know what? We got our seats. We know where we're sitting. It's not like we got to run for a seat, like a free for all. I said, let's get out of this crowd and walk to the back in case something pop off. So we did. We went to the back. We sat at a table near the eatery or whatever, and we just waited for people to file in because there was no need to rush. So anyway, we get in. We had already wasted time. I think by that time it was already an hour.
Damn.
And after the time the show was supposed to start, and then we get in there. We sit down. We're waiting. They keep putting the DJ on.
Uh-oh.
Music calms the savage beast. Yeah, okay. People were after a while like, listen, right? We're already an hour late. Now it's going on 2 hours. Now we're like, what is going on? So then people started to make noise, booing or like, what's going, us again.
Right. New Yorkers.
Not even, don't go there.
It was New Yorkers wilding. Yo, son, where you at, son?
Stop it.
Yeah, need that, son. I'm gonna throw my Timbs up there.
I'm gonna have to come in. Anywhere you would have went, it would have been that way because it's just cool, And so
and you're not getting any explanation or anything.
Thank you. I was just gonna say that nobody's giving us an explanation. So we're like, so then here's what happened, Kyle. To make a long story short, the crew that works for Prudential came on Babyface's set was up. The
Mm-hmm.
keyboards, the drums, the da da da. Da. So they have these sets that just kind of slide.
Mm-hmm.
The crew came on and slid his whole set off the stage.
Wow.
People started going off, making noise. What are you doing? Da, 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 all this kind of stuff. I'm like, what? I
Oh.
said, they are not. And no explanation. So here comes this guy. Lowly little black man. They didn't put him up to it, right? Comes out and he's like, my name is so and so. I'm from Potential. Then they started booing him. He said, we're really sorry. We didn't want to have to, let you know this, but Babyface will not be performing tonight. Oh my goodness. All his fans went up. What? Are you kidding me? I paid this money for these tickets, and Babyface is not. This is who he came to see. Da, da, da. Okay, so we're like, whoa, what is going on? Like, where is she? So 3 hours later, she comes out. And he said, I promise you, the guy, I promise you, she will be out. Just give us some. They didn't want to hear. I said, just get off the stage because they didn't want to hear nothing his brother had to say. And so then she comes out. Her background, her and the band comes out. I'm not sure if that was all her band, but they were out there. And even her background, when they got out there, they're doing their little moves because they're playing her music, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they start to look like, because she still ain't out on stage yet. So they started, all three of them were like, what is going on? Like you could
tell something's going on.
What is up? And so here she finally comes out. The grandiose whatever. She looked good.
Mm-hmm.
She has a little limp to her, so age is whatever.
Yeah.
But she still looks good. She still looks like herself. Her voice is Anita, like it always was.
Okay.
So the show was good. But in the meantime, though, by the second hour, when they pushed Babyface's set off, he got on his Instagram and he said, I am so sorry to my fans that we couldn't perform tonight, but they asked us not to perform so that Anita could do her full show. And so people started on the phone. Everybody got their phone out.
Right.
You Babyface said such and such. Look. Everybody started showing everybody. It was a whole thing.
Bad news travel fast.
It very fast. And needless to say, at the end, she did a good show. I felt it was lackluster because I had lost my excitement. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like you go there, you're ready to see a show, you're ready for her to get down, you're ready to see Babyface and then her or whatever, and then you're waiting. It just dampers the whole thing for me. Other people, so she came out, popped up or whatever. But I was just like, I just sat and listened. I'm not one of those people that needs to stand up at every song at a concert. I'm also respectful of the people behind me. Mm-hmm. And she did good. Her voice was pristine. It really was. But
yeah, okay.
We got her, my sister actually. She was on it because she's retired. So she spent her days emailing people and this and this and this and that, and got a full refund for my nieces. So, but I heard a lot of people got their money back for that show, so they didn't make a whole lot of money for that show.
Yeah, I mean, like that concert was the controversy, and Trish, you laid it out, and I didn't. It's crazy because I didn't even know that you went to that concert.
Yeah.
And if you're at the time of this recording, it's still like there's still some fallout from it because like Babyface, he didn't say like he said exactly what Trish said on his Instagram. And so now, according to Anita on social media, on Twitter, she said that Babyface fans were quote unquote attacking her. So anybody sending any smoke to Anita Baker on Twitter, she's blocking them. And it's funny, Trish, because just yesterday, somebody that I follow retweeted something, and they just had like, it was, I guess, they tried to tweet Anita Baker and it showed that they were blocked. So they just sent a screenshot of the blocked, and it says, you've been blocked by Anita Baker. and she posted on her Instagram and her Twitter that she would not be denied by these I can't remember the word she used, but she didn't call them trolls, but she was just like, and she even added Babyface and was like, look, you need to tell your fans to calm down. Like, this wasn't the sister situation. Like, I didn't, but it, on the outside looking in, it looked like she prevented him from performing.
Yep.
And that's what it sounds like to me. But she's saying that that's not what happened.
Yeah, if you looked at Babyface's the post,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't necessarily say, that it was Anita's fault necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
It said so that Anita, who is the headliner,
Mm-hmm.
if you know professionally, she is the headliner. Um, so that she could do her full show, they asked us not to go on.
So how was Anita the headliner when you got Babyface?
But because Anita, old school Anita coming back out.
But Trish, Babyface is one of the greatest of all time.
Listen, he's great and he's written a lot of songs, but he
exactly
to do Anita.
I mean, that's when I heard that news, that surprised me. I was like, wait a minute, Anita Baker's the headliner?
He's classic. It's like she asked him to be on that, or however it works.
Right. No, I get it. Get it.
So, it's just, but she has a reputation. And I had heard, was talking to one of the ushers, and he was saying, he said, you know what? He said, I heard they did the same mess in Atlanta, which I hadn't heard about that show. He said that they were late to that show as well. And I was like, well, they don't need to start that off because that's really not good. And I think that Babyface went on and said what he said that night so that he could save his reputation.
Right.
He's got a whole slew of fans in there too.
Right.
So,
and do you know if he's still on tour with her or?
I heard after that he did still tour with her.
Okay.
And I think it's even if he didn't want to, it's a contract thing.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's like he's making money. He's promised a certain amount of money. So is she. And so he's like, wow. I don't have to talk to her. That's like, listen, I know somebody who was the manager for Salt and Pepper, and they couldn't stand each other.
Yeah.
They barely talked. They didn't want to be on the same flights together, stuff like that. I mean, so you can make it happen. Yeah. It's not, the audience don't have to know.
No, they don't have to know. I mean, but you even, like you said, Anita, and it's something I've heard, and I know you've heard over the years, like she's had a reputation as far as being difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
Somewhat of a diva, if you will.
Yeah.
And that's not a good look, particularly for somebody going back out on tour and then having something like this happen. And this happened early in the tour because this.
Oh yeah, it was like I think the Prudential show was what, the second or third.
Yeah, second or third show, right?
I was like, geez, they starting out bad. But you know what? The one thing that did happen at the show was that she kept having to tell the sound guy. She was teaching him how to do the levels. She was like, Lord. Okay, turn down this and do this because the mics kept ringing.
Oh, okay. And
it kept giving her like a reverb or feedback. And she stopped. If I had to count, probably like 5 or 6 times.
Damn.
Telling him, sweetheart, do this.
And that's what happens at sound check. But if you don't have sound check, then
you even know that.
Right.
For an artist of the 2 artists of that caliber,
yeah, you shouldn't have those kind of problems.
That sound should have been pristine.
So Anita Baker is on the Lauryn Hill timeline. But we're going to talk about Rapture.
Right, back to
Rapture. So let's get into it. Like I said, it's only 37 minutes, and there's only 8 tracks. So if you bought the tape, you had 4 on side A and 4 on side B. The album starts off with the song "Sweet Love." What's your thoughts on "Sweet Love"?
Sweet Love it starts with. Okay. Sweet Love. They're all great. It's like some of them, everybody, first of all, the Anita songs, everybody knew the lyrics to. Anytime they played, everybody's singing. Even at the concert, everybody was singing the songs. I mean, they just get etched in your memory.
Do
So
you have any special memories or about Sweet Love?
mm, not in particular. I mean, my brother and sister had a band
Okay.
back in those days, and my sister loved Anita Baker. They did a lot of Anita Baker songs, and of course, Sweet Love was on the list. So
I love that song. And I mean, like you said, it still is one of those songs. We're talking 1986, and it still feels good in
oh yeah,
2023. Um,
yeah.
and then track two, You Bring Me Joy. Now, I do have a memory from this one. Um, there was a talent show that I went to when I was in high school, and this girl sang this song. And Trish, the only thing that she got out of her mouth was "You Bring Me,"
And everybody else
and
said,
the crowd went crazy. You couldn't hear nothing else because
mm,
everybody knew she could sing. And yeah, I mean, when I say she won that talent show hands down, like,
right?
oh, oh my gosh, I mean, like she sounded just like Anita Baker.
Really?
She was that good. She was that good.
Yeah, that's pretty unique right there, especially with Anita sound. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I can sing an Anita song, which I have, but I'm not Anita. I'm not.
Right.
My voice is not similar to hers. But
Right.
yeah, Sweet Love. I mean, all the songs were just like memories, memories, memories. Yeah.
Then we get to track three, Caught Up in the Rapture. Um, that song still, it just,
That was a really nice one.
yes,
It just flowed. All her songs, but that one just kind of flowed.
flows, yes, yes. Then track four, uh, Been So Long, which is a track that she actually wrote by herself, which
Mhm.
is something that you didn't really see a lot, back in the 80s, artists writing their own songs.
Right.
Um, but Been So Long is a little, I ain't even gonna say it. No, it's not up tempo. It's a little
It's jazzy.
jazzy. That's the word I was looking for.
Jazzy, and it was jazzy for back then. I mean,
Mhm.
kind of could call her a jazz artist per se. You know what I mean? But she could fill a couple of genres the way she
Mhm.
sang and the way her songs were. So,
Yep. Then we get to track five, Mystery, written by the late great Rod Temperton.
oh yeah,
Listen, Rod Temperton, look him up if you're not familiar. Get familiar.
yeah, yeah.
Rod Temperton can write, did write any and everything.
Listen, and they're the ones that make the money, the writers.
Yes.
I'm like, dang, I need to start
Yes.
writing songs. They make some dough.
Yeah, I'm sure he made quite a few with all of the hits and songs that he wrote. But it's a beautiful song, and
It
Anita
is.
carries that song very well.
And speaking of writing songs, that's like Babyface. Babyface has written stuff that people don't even know he wrote.
Man, listen,
He's like,
y'all remember the verses?
yeah, he's got a plethora of songs. That's just forget it.
And then we get to track six, No One in the World, that I mentioned a little earlier. Like I said, real cool video. I like the concept. Like I said, it was directed by Spike Lee. Spike appears in the video as
Mm-hmm.
well, so check that out. Then Same Old Love is track seven.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit more up tempo, just a little bit more up tempo.
Mm-hmm.
And then the album closes with number eight, track eight, Watch Your Step.
Yeah.
Um, was there any songs on here that I don't want to say that you don't like, probably your least favorite song on the album?
Oh, least favorite. I didn't think you're gonna go there. Um, "You Bring Me Joy" was the one that I sang at that little thing. So for my God.
Okay.
But maybe "Watch Your Step." "Watch Your
Yeah,
Step" wasn't as popular as the other ones, so I guess what?
it was like a mid tempo,
Yeah,
and I think it kind of sounded like a throw in to me when I listened to it
yeah.
again.
They
'Cause-
needed another song to make.
right,
Yeah.
right. Because what's interesting, Tris, like when I looked at the track listing, I remember all the songs, and then when I got to Watch Your Step, I was like, Watch Your Step.
Yeah,
I don't remember that joint.
yeah. The people kind of threw that one to the side, I think. So,
Hmm. Yeah, that's my least favorite as well. What about your favorite song on the album?
hmm. That's hard.
Okay,
Say, caught up in the rapture.
okay.
That's hard to do, but I would say caught up in the rapture.
My favorite is probably still Sweet Love.
Sweet love, yeah.
Yeah, when I hear that piano come in, man, listen, you just
You got memories.
oh yeah, oh yeah. That was I mean that Sweet Love was on the Quiet Storm every night.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know
She
that
was,
was
listen, when she was hot, she was hot.
that and when she was in her prime,
That's it.
she was tough to deal with.
That's it.
Um, what do you think the overall if you had to kind of break it down for somebody who wasn't necessarily around when this album came out? What do you think the impact was on not just the fans but just music in general, R&B in particular?
Mm. I'll say that's when R&B for females was really good.
Facts.
If you think about R&B right now, male and female, it's not the same. And female R&B was bigger back in the day. You know, you had more female artists doing R&B and really nice songs. So I
Mm-hmm.
think she kind of set the pace for people, female artists back then.
Mm-hmm.
She was unique. But if you talk to a lot of female artists, she definitely had an influence on their career or their path and how they sing. There's a little Anita in everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I agree. I think.
learned about her is that she started in the 70s
Mm-hmm.
with a band called Chapter 8,
Yep.
which I had never heard of. And I was like, oh, interesting. Never heard. I did hear a song called I Just Want to Be Your Girl by Chapter 8. And she's the lead on it. And
Okay.
she has a much smoother, you could tell she was young, but she has a much
Right.
smoother, sweeter voice on that. But
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I agree with what you said. I mean, I think this album was very pivotal at that particular time because um, R&B, particularly for the ladies, was like you had to come with it. Like,
Right.
and while this, if you listen to Songstress, it doesn't sound like this. This album was, definitely out of there, and it showed her growth and development in between both albums. And one of the things that stood out to me, even as a kid back then, was that she was from Detroit, but she didn't have that Motown sound. And I guess in my mind, as a fan of music, I just kind of associate everybody from Detroit with Motown.
Right.
And she wasn't really, you know, paired with anybody per se.
Yeah.
Um,
Very unique.
but this was a cold album back then,
Hmm.
and I mean it still is to this day.
And R&B back then, you had to sing.
Oh, no question.
It wasn't like you had stuff that was covering your voice in the studio and stuff
Oh
like that.
no, I mean
But for the most part, everybody, female R&B artists back then, if you heard them live, they were singing.
yes.
It wasn't just.
I mean, we're talking 85, so let's just think about some of the artists that were making the female artists that were making R&B music at the time. Shaka, Patty, um, I don't want to say Whitney because that wasn't necessarily R&B, but she
Yeah,
was
but
singing,
regular,
you
like
know,
straight out flat singing. They were
singing,
singing,
singing.
and if you heard
Sugar
them
Lynn.
in live, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, the
Right.
list goes on and on.
Uh, Melissa Morgan.
Oh my God.
I used to love Melissa Morgan and Howard, Mickey Howard.
Mickey Howard was so dope.
I used to love Mickey.
Phyllis Hyman.
Yes.
Come on. I mean, now these are, I mean, and for those of you listening, if you don't know any of these people that we're mentioning, get familiar. These were singers, like Trish mentioned a little earlier, sing your face off. Because here's the thing, and this was like an unwritten rule in R&B. If you sang it on the record, you had to sing it live like that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
like
You
you
need
couldn't
We expected you to sound like the
Right. You weren't gonna go to Budweiser Superfest and be sounding janky. They were gonna boo you off the stage.
Yeah, that's right.
So
And
yeah,
It's funny, Phyllis Hyde, I put up a picture the other day, an old school picture of me singing at a talent show
for
at
real?
high school. Yeah, I
You
posted
put
it.
it on Facebook?
Yeah, it's on my
Oh, I gotta go back and look at it.
It's me standing there and with a mic in my hand singing. And somebody said, "You look like a young Phyllis Hyman." I was like,
Oh
"Oh,
wow.
I'll take that compliment."
So
Thanks.
is the audio too, or just a picture?
No, just the picture.
Oh, Trish. I want to hear the song.
Kyle.
Oh man. So before we get out of here, I gotta ask the question that I always ask anytime we do album reviews. I think I know the answer, but I gotta ask it anyway. Is this album a classic?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's something that if you were anywhere near that era, or like you said, your mom even used to hear your
Mm-hmm.
mom just playing it, it's classic. You think of
Yes.
these songs, you know where you were, you know around the time, the era that you were in. You remember singing the songs, or you went to a concert. It's classic when you get memories like that from an album. And the other thing about albums back then, most of them you could play from beginning to end and not
Preach.
and not have to skip a song.
Preach.
That's
No.
when you know the
I
album is
mean,
good.
you and I both said "Watch Your Step" was our least favorite song, and it's the last song in the album. So,
Yeah,
I
so
mean, you've already gotten 35 plus minutes of dope
exactly,
music.
exactly. Yeah, and sang along with all of them. So
All of them.
yeah, classic, definitely. I think Anita is classic.
Yeah, I agree 1,000%. I think one of the things that I enjoyed about going back and listening to that was just not only just sing, and like I told you when we decided to do this album review, I had not listened to this album in its entirety in a good 10, 15 years. And now I know why, because it ain't on streaming. So
Right.
I
You can't
I
even,
know
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know you couldn't really find it. It's
yeah,
like,
I got the CD somewhere around here. It's somewhere. I think I got a box full of CDs in my garage. It's probably in there. But I do know that I bought that CD twice. Because
you thought
somebody scratched it.
oh
Somebody scratched it.
yeah,
Um,
scratch CD.
so I know I have it. So I did give her some of my dollars. But yeah, it's an album that never gets old. So anybody listening or watching on YouTube, make sure that you check it out, even if it's not on streaming. Like I said, you could listen to a couple of songs on streaming, and then you can go to YouTube and watch her videos on YouTube. Incredible album. So this has been a great trip down memory lane, Trish. Before we get out of here, anything you want to promote or tell the people or tell you where they can find you on social media, anything like that?
Sure, I have a online business, small boutique. It is Zawadi Enterprises LLC. Zawadi being Z as in zebra, AWADI. You can find me on Facebook
Okay.
and Instagram. Website to come soon.
Okay. So check that out. You guys have been listening this long. You know where to find me. 12 Kyle podcast drops every Thursday at midnight. We drop bonus episodes on Sundays as well. 12 Kyle across the board on the socials. If you feel so inclined, hit us up on Cash App, $TWELVEKYLE. Again, that's going to do it for us. For my girl Trish, I am your boy 12 Kyle. This has been an album review, Anita Baker's Rapture. We'll catch you guys next time. 5,000.
Bye.